Hello everyone, my name is Soundsy Boy and welcome back to another reading video. I know how much you guys love the reading videos, so let's start to the chase, shall we? Was that you? He said, but the ugly green rabbit merely stared back at him, the glow of moonlight making its buggy eyes seem to shimmer. Oscar closed his bedroom door so Jesus criminy Christ. My drink just fell down on my recording system. Or, not my recording system, but my microphone, so I'm going to check the wire real quick. Ow! Okay, let's do this. Yeah, look, a series of his mistakes. Just as the door clicked shut, Oscar swore beyond all the reason that he heard Raj's voice come from the other side of the door. Lights out, it said, the faintest tickle of a ghoul on the end of the sentence. Oscar flung the door open, its eyes moving straight for the flush trap. What did you say? Huh? Said Isaac, already down the hall on his way to the living room. You heard that, right? Heard what? Oscar turned back to his room. Come on, Raj. It's not funny. What's not funny? Raj asked. Look his head around the corner at the end of the hall. Oscar shook his head. Nothing. Never mind. Are you sure you're okay? Said Isaac. And Oscar conjured another laugh. Stupid storms making me hear things. In the living room, Raj and Isaac had torn into 2 bags of chips and were slurping electric blue fruit punch at a second's pace. Isaac belched. Ugh. Okay, if we start here, we'll just go over the train tracks and work our way south, he said. They were studying Raj's glowing phone, open to a map of the town that centered on a split of the rail line between east and west side. It wasn't lost on Oscar that they lived on the wrong side of the track. A joke that was a little too on the nose to make even with his friends. No, we need to start south and work our way north, said Raj. But we'll waste all our time in transit, argued Isaac, punctuating his point with another loud burp. Dude, I could smell that one, said Raj, scooting away, and we'll move faster to Jane House as if we're not already weighed down by candy, and it's all about aerodynamics, he said. Oscar had been watching the plan hatch in the kitchen while he quietly crumbled. The boys finally noticed him standing there. Fine, Oscar, and break the tie. Raj said. Where do we start, Oscar? North or south? Into the tracks. I can't go. Raj let his phone drop to the floor, and he had Isaac exchange a look. And Oscar tried hard to believe that they hadn't seen this coming, but Oscar was forever having to skip out on plans when his mom called him her little man. It's my mom, he said unnecessarily. She's gonna bring himself to finish. Isaac said, putting his best act. It'll be lame anyway. Raj played along as usual. But the full-size candy bars are just a myth. Isaac nodded, and will spit the stash 3 ways. Oscar knew they were lying about it being epic. He knew they'd divvy their haul with him. He knew they were disappointed, but he never felt more grateful for his friends. Whoa, is that a white streak in your hair? Isaac said, pointing at Oscar's head, pivoting the conversation. Oscar reached for his head. Seriously? Seriously? Isaac chuckled. No, but I'm not sure you fried a new brain cells back there. Raj cackled. Not that you could afford to lose any. For the first time that night, Oscar felt settled. Maybe everything would be okay. If he didn't have a plush truck chaser or a cell phone or Halloween, he didn't have his dad, but he had a mom who needed him, and he had friends who had his back. Oscar had taken his place beside Raj and Isaac on the living room floor when a spear of lightning tore through the sky. The light was so bright, at first Oscar thought his vision had blinked out, but then the light didn't return. Only the shadows and shapes of his living room surrounded him. He realized the rest of the house power must have gone out. I think maybe you did a little more damage than just shorting out a socket, Raj said through the dark. Oscar stood and he felt his way to the window, which was harder to see than before, because whatever moonlight that had made it through the storm earlier was gone now, covered in a thick layer of thunderheads. Nah, he said, pressing the cheek of the glass to his glass. The power's out everywhere. Lightning must have hit the grid. Isaac snorted. Bet it's not out on the east side. Ever wonder how theirs never seems to get hit? Hang on, I'll get some flashlights, Oscar said. Mom bought a second one after the last time the power went out. That one lasted almost 2 days. Raj, remember? You had to throw away half the food in our fridge. 2 days with no TV, no games, Isaac said, shivering. My phone lost charge in the middle of the first day, said Raj. The boys stared into memories of the great power outage of May before shaking off the horror. Oscar handed Isaac the cheap, lightweight flashlight and kept the heavier one for himself. Gonna have to use your own phone flashlight, Oscar said to Raj. We only have 2. Sure, go ahead. Run my battery down, Raj pouted. Suddenly the boys heard a thump coming from the other end of the house. Oscar might have been able to dismiss it as his imagination if Isaac and Raj didn't react too. Did you get a cat or something? Asked Isaac. Oscar shook his head. Then remembered they couldn't see him. He flicked on his flashlight and Isaac followed suit. Another thump echoed at the same place, and another wobbled audibly. Maybe the 3 branch against the window, Raj offered, but didn't sound convinced. Isaac shook his head and charged forward. This is stupid. Hang on, Oscar said, but Isaac was already halfway down the hall. When they rounded the corner, another thump, this one decidedly louder, greeted them behind Oscar's closed bedroom. The house was too dark to detect any sort of shadow from the crack under the door, but the source of the sound was unmistakable. Something was banging slowly against the door in Oscar's room. So it was no on the cat, then, whispered Isaac, his voice shaking. It's not a cat, Oscar hissed, and Raj shushed him. As though in response to their voices, the banging stopped, and the boys held one collective breath. Then all at once the banging started again. It started twice as fast, and with so much force it shook the door. The boys slowly backed away and didn't dare to take their eyes off the door. Still think it's a tree branch? Isaac shot at Raj. Not unless the tree climbed into my room, said Oscar. You guys shut up, told Raj, holding up his hand. Do you hear that? What is that? Oscar whispered. It sounds like scraping, said Isaac. They didn't have to wait long to find out. There underneath the doorknob, a jagged hole in the plywood began to emerge, dug by a row of persistent human-looking teeth, strong enough to bite through a butter knife. As they dug, the teeth seemed to change shape, sharpening as they worked. No way, Oscar breathed. I thought it was broken, yelled Raj, most accusingly. It was, said Oscar. Can't we argue about this somewhere else? Said Isaac, watching the quick process that the saw-like teeth were making in the area around the doorknob. Sorry, everyone, I heard something. Dude, it's a toy, said Raj. What do you think it's gonna... Then, with 2 more powerful bangs against the door, the bronze knob fell from Oscar's bedroom door. It swung open to reveal a 3-foot shadow with long, crooked ears, while Plushtrap was a mere shadow. its gleaming, jagged teeth shone even in the dark. And was that blood around the edges of its front teeth? How is that possible? Unless the teeth were human and the gums were human too. But then, would they still bleed? It was all impossible. So impossible he couldn't bring himself to say any of it out loud. Then all at once, the plush trap chaser ran straight for Oscar, Raj, and Isaac. Go, go, go! Raj screamed. They sprinted down the hallway. Oscar heard a small clunk nearly tip over whatever it was. In here! The boys darted to the closest room, Oscar's mom's, and slammed the door behind him. Raj shoved the other aside to lock it. Really? You think it can turn knobs? Said Isaac, trying to catch his breath. I don't know what the heck it can do, yelled Raj. Then the banging began. This time the door closed it to them. The boys stepped away in unison, watching the door bow under the force of 3-foot Bunny. Oscar's eyes widened, and he heard the telltale sounds of scraping. The plush trap was about to chew through this door too. How do we stop this thing? Said Isaac. The switch is under its foot, right? They continued to back away as the scraping grew faster, and the rabbit's skill is appearing to improve with practice. Oscar looked around the room frantically. Well, we'd better think of something quick, or that thing's gonna eat through this door too, and I don't think we can all fit in the bathroom, said Raj. Oscar was beginning to grow frantic as it was chewing speed up. Oscar, Isaac said, and Isaac shined his flashlight at the hole beginning to form by the doorknob. Quick, climb up on something, the highest thing you can, said Oscar, and each found a surface. Oscar the vanity, Isaac on the dresser, and Raj perched purposely on top of the headboard. In no time, the rabbit had chewed through this door, too, and without thunk, the doorknob fell to the carpet. Slowly, the door creaked open and once again revealed a vacant stare of crooked ears of the green rabbit. The boys held their breath and waited to see what the plush trap would do. It took very little time for the bunny to make up its mind. The machine bent on its one job. It headed straight for the object in front of it, the dresser, and began to drag its jagged teeth across the wood of the wardrobe's legs. Are you kidding me? Screamed Isaac, watching in horror of the bunny made fast work of one of the dresser's ornate legs. In another minute the leg would be reduced to the width of the toothpick, and Isaac had toppled to the floor in right front of his ruthless rabbit. Think of something, pleaded Isaac. Somebody think of something fast. What else do we turn it off? How do we turn it off? Isaac asked no one in particular, but little piles of sawdust were forming at the base of the dresser, and Isaac was already starting to slide. The light! Raj yelled from the headboard, momentarily losing his grip and ledge and catching himself. The box said it freezes under light. My flashlight's in the hallway, screamed Isaac, sliding just closer to the rabbit. It took Oscar far too long to remember he was holding the other flashlight. Oscar, now! Raj hollered, and Oscar regained his senses and flipped the beam on the plush trap chaser. But it didn't work. Get in front of it, screamed Isaac. And Oscar scooted to the edge of the vanity and stretched his arm as far as he could, so the beam of light shone directly into the bunny's eyes. Suddenly the toy froze, mid-gnaw, as it opened wide for the last chomp of the dresser leg. The room grew quiet as the boys gasped for breath, the beam on the bunny shaking another Oscar's trembling grip. Keep it steady, Isaac whispered, as though afraid he could wake the beast by sound. I'm trying, hissed Oscar. The dresser was swaying under Isaac, trying to figure out how to stand on all 3.5 legs, and it wasn't going to hold Isaac for much longer, with or without the plush trap chewing away at it. I've got to get down, said Isaac, more to himself than to his friends. Then they understood. They were trying to gather their courage. I can't move as long as Oscar keeps the light on it, said Raj, sensing Isaac's distress momentary it is easy for you to say, said Isaac, never taking his eyes off the green thing at the base of the wardrobe. You're not inches from a freaking wood chipper. What the heck is up with its teeth? They're not supposed to be like that. I think it's safe to say that the whole lot of this situation that isn't supposed to be like that, said Raj. Now, would you get off the stupid dresser? He's right, Oscar encouraged. So long as there's light, it's not supposed to be able to move. It wasn't supposed to be able to move anyway, remember? Said Isaac. It suddenly come to life. Neither Raj nor Oscar had a good answer to offer, especially not in that moment. Maybe lightning? Something about it when it was plugged into that socket, I don't know. What do I know is that the dresser is about half a second from collapsing, said Oscar. Isaac nodded, accepting his fate. He was going to have to venture down to the floor. We're not done for the day, but we are halfway through. I'm going to put my bookmark in there, and I'm going to grab a drink. I'm actually going to my grandma's today, so you know, that's fun. Where did my book go? It's right there. Theories? Well, the plush trap came to life. Oh, that's so much better. So the plush trap came to life, so I'm guessing that's bad. I mean, they're just trying to kill him. And, maybe the plush trap, when you plug it in with the port, shuts down everything. Like, shuts down everything like a mile radius. Some type of EMP type of thing. Maybe. I don't know. Sliding himself as far away as possible from the open mouth of the plush trap, Isaac draped one leg over the side of the dresser, then snatched it back. Throwing his balance off, "Man, come on," said Raj, suspense killing him. "Hey, you pick which limb you'd rather have torn off," growled Isaac, and Oscar tried a different approach. "Quick and easy, just like a bandage," he suggested, and Isaac seemed like that approach better. "Quick and easy," Isaac repeated. Just as Isaac prepared to lie on the dresser, the far corner of the room, no one stood. A voice called out, "Guys, over here." Not just any voice, though. Roger's voice. Oscar didn't mean to move the light in the corner. It was instinct. "Whoa, put it back, put it back." Oscar juggled the flashlight in his hands and swept to the beam back of the plush trap's gaze, just as he prepared to close on Isaac's sliding leg. "Cute trick, Raj. Maybe before you practice your drill ghost act some other time," said Oscar, struggling to grin his best. But Raj simply stared wide-eyed into the corner. "It wasn't you, was it?" said Isaac, holding his nearly sacrificed leg. "Come on, seriously?" said Oscar. "It can't mimic voices." "Our voices," said Raj, gulping. "To distract us." The damaged wood under Isaac groaned, and he slid to the ground and ran faster than Oscar had ever seen him move. Then he skidded across the floor and joined Oscar in the vanity. "Now what?" he asked Raj, and Oscar was ready with an answer. "We leave the flashlight right here, right on it," he said. "We barricade the door and call for help." Isaac and Raj thought it over for a second, then silently agreed. Raj moved first, inching his way off the headboard and backing toward the door, never taking its eyes off the demented bunny, which under the glow of Oscar's flashlight had been taking on a sickly green hue amid the surrounding shadows of the room. Just as Oscar and Isaac began to lower themselves to the carpet too, the beam from the flashlight began to falter, flickering on and off for split-second intervals. Panicked, Oscar slapped the side of the light and brought the beam back to life, but only for a second. Then it once again failed and reappeared. "Oscar," said Isaac in a low voice, "is there any chance that all that wasn't the battery on your flashlight dying?" The beam blinked out and reappeared again, but it stayed extinguished long enough time to hear the jaw of the plush trap shut. Oscar started. We didn't have time to finish. When the beam flickered out this time, it stayed out. "Run!" screamed Oscar, and he and Isaac clambered for the door. So close to Raj, they scraped his heels with their toes. They ran across the hall to the bathroom, and Isaac kicked his dropped flashlight ahead of them. They slammed the door, throwing their backs against it for the time to feel the force of 3 feet of metal push it either side. The rabbit wasted no time running its cracked teeth across the wood. again tackling the area right around the doorknob. Isaac dropped to the ground and groped for his last flashlight, juggling it between his hands before finding the switch of casting the beam toward the door. But they all knew it would only work on the bunny once it had chewed through the door, once they were face to face with it. Raj, where's your phone? Said Oscar. Raj held up with the talisman. It screeched, glowing blue in the dark bathroom. Save the light, said Oscar. Just call for help. Right, said Raj, catching on. He quickly dialed 911, waiting for a relief that would come from the operator's voice. What's taking so long? Said Isaac, eyeing the handle. Began to wiggle and loosen support. Nothing's happening, said Raj, trying again. What do you mean? It's 911. Someone has to pick up, said Isaac. I mean, the call's not even going through, like there's no service or something. I don't know, said Raj, growing desperate. Okay, said Oscar, trying to think through, but the plush-strap teeth were starting to show through the door again, leaving tiny green threads on the splinters around the doorknob. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm going to open the door. Bad idea, said Raj, panic lacing his voice. Horrible idea. Wait, said Oscar, trying to keep his cool. I'll open the door, and I'll hit it with a light to freeze it. You two get out while I'm shining the light and go to the kitchen. You can call for help using the landline. So you're saying we should just leave you alone with this thing, said Isaac, unless you want to stay here with me, said Oscar. No, we'll go to the kitchen, Raj interjected quickly. On my mark, said Oscar, absolutely not ready to call the mark, but happening one way or another, the knob was going to drop. 3, 2, said Oscar. He grabbed the doorknob and lost its place out in the door. Go! Oscar flung the door open. The plush-trap chaser burst through, went stiff in the light. Its eyes were so muddy under the closed beam of the flashlight. It was difficult to remember they used to be green. The featureless orbs were somehow more terrifying than normal live eyeballs. Its mouth lung open hungrily, the teeth even bloodier than they had been last time. Oscar had looked at them closely, its jointed arms extended straight in front of, ready to push through the door. Shallow breaths filled the tiny bathroom as Isaac and Raj jockeyed for space as far as the plush trap as possible. But it was standing in the doorway. They had to squeeze past. Isaac sucked its stomach in, but the wiry hair of the rabbit still grabbed at his shirt. Raj winced and did the same, the top of the rabbit's arm brushing his ear as he scooted past and stood on shaking legs in the hallway with Isaac. You sure about this? Raj asked Oscar. Nope, Oscar said. Just hurry. The boys scampered down the hall and yanked the receiver, the phone's cradle in the kitchen. But as Oscar stood eye to bulging eye with the plush trap, you could tell by the way his friends arguing with getting through the 911 by the landline either. When they reappeared in the doorway, Raj was the one to deliver the bad news. The phone lines must be down. As though as confirmation, wind whipped against the house, rattling in the space behind the walls, where pipes snaked through the insulation. So to recap, said Oscar, this is a light carefully trained on the bunny. We're trapped in my house with a mindless eating machine with exactly one working flashlight. 2 if you count my phone, Raj interrupted. During a storm, I knocked out the power lines and the phone lines. And the water, said Isaac. The 2 boys waited for an explanation. I got thirsty and I tried the tap. It can chew through almost anything, said Raj. So what happens when our lights run out of batteries? Said Oscar. The boys all stared at the plush trap as though it might provide an answer. It merely stared into the light. Oscar didn't dare take it away from his face. Hey, Oscar, said Raj, and Oscar did not like the tone of his voice. It was obvious some horror had just occurred to him. What? How are you gonna get out of there? What do you mean? Same way as you did. Said Raj, taking his head slowly. We got out because you were shining the light on its face. Yeah? We're not facing it anymore. We're behind it. Oscar finally understood. The light didn't just need to be on the rabbit. It needs to see it, he said, shuddering the prospect of his horrible head human eyes seeing anything. Hang on, said Isaac. We can use the mirror. The boys tried to angle the plush trap toward the counter, while Oscar's hands made the beam tremble. Hold it steady, said Isaac. I'm trying. Do you know how hard it is to hold something level for this long? My arm is killing me. Would you two shut up, said Raj, leaning hard against the plush trap. Isaac, help me. Isaac, help me with this thing. Dude, that's not that heavy. Raj stood away from the rabbit. You try. But Isaac couldn't make it budge either. It's like its gears are locked in place or something. Just quiet for a minute. Here's what we're gonna do, said Oscar. One of you are going to hold the light over its head between the ears. Not it, said Raj. I'll sneak past, and then we'll make a run for it. Raj nodded. Yeah, that could work. As soon as it turns around, we can just back away and keep the flashlight on it for as long as we can. Exactly. It'll buy us at least time to get down to the end of the hall. Best idea they could ever muster. It might have worked if a smaller, cheaper flashlight had begun to flicker at the exact moment. The great power outage of May had drained the batteries prematurely. No, 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 said Oscar. Why do all of our flashlights die? Accused Isaac. Shut up and hold it, said Oscar. They were all beginning to panic. Isaac cringed as he held his arm between the scratchy fur of the rabbit's ears, angled to the beam to its bulging eyes, as Oscar flattened himself against the door frame. Let me in. I'll use my phone light. Raj said breathlessly. Too late, said Isaac. No room to switch places. Then, just as Oscar had pinned beside the plush trap, they heard a voice from the front door. Little man, I need your help. Miss Olivia, Isaac called over his shoulder. Stay there. Don't move. But it was Isaac who moved, and it was little as he turned, but enough to move the beam of light. Isaac, the light! Oscar yelled. Sorry! Isaac refocused on the light of the rabbit. His arm shook, and the beam began to falter, creating a deeply unsettling strobe effect. Now that the rabbit's head slowly turned to increasements, during the dark intervals between the flashlight beam. Oscar nose to nose with the rabbit, the flashlight failed completely. Run! Screamed Oscar. To the others followed the solid suit, shrieking in unison as the plush trap lived up to its name, chasing them in freakishly smooth mechanical strides down a narrow hallway of Oscar's house. Raj tried to aim his phone at screen behind him, but the beam of light wasn't bright enough. The flashlight, yelled Isaac, and Raj tried, but in its panic the thin phone slipped right through the sweating hands. If there was any hope that the phone had survived its fall, the immediate crunch that came afterward extinguished that hope. The rabbit had stomped it. The garage! Oscar managed to grasp as they fled, the biggest regret of his life. Throwing the door closed against the lunging rabbit, the boys listened in horror as it once again began to attack its obstacle with ruthless efficiency. That's the world's worst toy, Roger gasped. How did it know your mom's voice? Isaac wheezed. Who knows? Oscar said, throwing his hands in the air. Maybe it overheard her on the phone. He laughed hysterically. Possibilities are endless. Isaac clapped a hand over Oscar's shoulder. Snap out of it, man. You're losing it. Unlike the other rooms of the house that had at least the benefit of the shadows to see the space around them, the garage was pitch black. As the boys groped for something they could use against the intruder, they might only knock off tools or shelves to trip over stored Christmas decorations. I suppose it's too much to ask if another flashlight is in here somewhere, Isaac asked, in a voice raspy with fear. Even if there was, I wouldn't know where to find it, said Oscar. Raj slapped at the garage door button frantically. But with the power out, it was no use. Don't these things have an emergency release? He asked, logically prevailing. Her teeth were beginning to emerge through the chewed hole in the door in the garage. There's a lever, said Oscar, groping toward where throughout the middle of the garage might be. It would be somewhere, right? He began jumping, stretching his hand high overhead, and he swiped the air. Searched for the knob, tried, and rope released in the emergency lock of the garage. Rush joined him in the hunt, taking a different pace in the garage. Guys, Isaac said, in his voice so calm. Hang on. I think my finger just hit it, said Oscar. Guys, said Isaac again. Where? Said Raj. Over here. Where's here? Here. Guys, said Isaac, and this time they both paused to listen. Silent scraping began to grow louder as the plush trap made quick work of the thicker wood of the garage door. Well, that is the end of today's, this is the end of today's reading. 29 minutes, about 30 minutes, just as last video. I like how fast I'm reading these. Tomorrow, I'm going to be only reading 10 pages, and that is the end of FNAF Five Nights at Freddy's Fazbear's Frights to Fetch. The entire book. So, I hope you guys have a super fantastic, wonderful day. Be polite, be efficient. Don't die to coronavirus. What's my new theme, like Castlevania? Beep boop boo 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 boo.